I'm not sure what this one is because it keeps coming in a little choppy, but it's more or less the idea of protect the little ones. It's like the idea of protect those who can't protect themselves yet, right? Like children or the elderly who no longer can, or like pregnant women. Like it's this idea of protect those who need protection. But it was also coming through about like just be the example. And remember, they've shown it many a times too with children, where it's like, yes, be the example, but up until a certain point. And it was shown really harshly sometimes, but in this one, it's not that. And this is, it's like I'm having a hard time seeing and verbalizing and translating a certain point around that, where it's like, you want to be the example for your children, but you also want to protect them. But it is up until a certain point, because at some point you have to take the leap where they have to start implementing the example and doing it themselves, loving themselves, standing up for themselves, because you are not them and they are not you, right? Like you have to get to the point where it's like, I guess it is that idea of cut the cord, where they have to learn to practice loving themselves and doing it on their own. Like you're not always going to be there to nurse them, that kind of thing. And so it is like the combination of the two of like, I don't know the word. I was going to say like Italian love and then tough love, right? Meaning like the Italians, we over pamper, it's like over love, overdo it, over protective, over, just want to keep them babies forever. But, at some point that's no longer benefiting them. That's benefiting you. Like at some point it's no longer benefiting the child. It's now benefiting the adult and harming the child, because then the child, it's the confusion, it's the entanglement, it's the enmeshment, right? So it's kind of like that idea where that at some point it has to be the tough love. What's really more tough love for the parent, because it's like tough luck parent, like get your shit together. Your child isn't there to feed you, right? It becomes like a reverse nourishment and protection, right? It's like, so no, the cord needs to be cut. It's like the parent is to nourish the child, and then when it's no longer true, like now the child needs to stand on its own legs, it's got its footing, now cut the cord so you don't start sucking the life back into you and harming the child. Hopefully you can hear this and it makes sense. So it's kind of like that, the nurturing love and then cut the cord. Not mean, but it can feel like tough love when you're used to the other. And it's not about that. It's like, it's the idea of like, yes, protect them when they can't protect themselves up until a certain age. And that's a fine line. It's a hairy line, because they were showing me young. I mean, I don't know if you remember these that were coming through, and it was like 7, and then it was a little older. But I mean, it was like this idea, because they need to do it on their own. And then it's almost the idea of like, they're still technically under the umbrella and the care of the parents. But so in other words, it's like, it can feel harsh, especially when you're used to over pampering, over smothering, over whatever, for both parties. It can feel hard and harsh for both the child and the parent. Yet it's for the child's benefit to give them that tough love, so they're forced to love themselves. They're forced to stand up for themselves, but they still have the soft landing because they're still young enough that they're at home, right? And so it's like, encourage their consequences so they can feel them when it's not going to hit as hard, and learn them when it's not going to be as detrimental, versus you smothering them all the time and then the cord's cut, maybe by, the death of a parent. Well, you never actually were the example and you never cut the cord. And now there's no soft landing, there's no umbrella, there's no nothing. So it went from pampering them to they're out in the fucking cold, harsh world. And it's like such a stark difference. There was no gradual, there was no weaning off, there was no nothing. And that's a lot fucking harder, right? And so it's like it's combining all of these together, and I hopefully you can hear them, because I guess I'm not as sure what the straight line message is, because I don't know. Maybe that's the point. There is no straight line for anybody. It's like because not everybody's the same either. Not every child's the same, and so it's that fine line and fine dance that we all need to do, where you are to care for them, love them, protect them. And so maybe that's it. It's like, well, you want to do that always, but it's like a variation of the intensity of doing such, where you have to, separate oneself at some point, because you are different human beings with your own desires and wants and life. And it's like you can't live each other's life. So if you don't untangle that and cut that cord at some point, and it is fairly early on, then you bleed into enmeshment and entanglement, and then you're no longer nourishing and nurturing the child. You're now covertly sucking the life back out of them, right? It's like you think you're protecting, but no, you're not. You're lying to yourself. You're not doing that for yourself. It's like that energy vampire idea, where if you see it that way, you're like, oh my God, right? Because you don't want to think of yourself that way, and you don't want to see it that harshly, and you don't want to be doing that. It's not a conscious intention of that, but that's what's occurring. Like, now let them live their life. Yes, even at 7, yes, they are now, like, let them live their life and make their choices. Even when you see they're going to fall, let them fall. Because then they can go, oh, doing this, I fall, I hurt myself. That hurts. I don't want to hurt. Okay, I'm not going to climb this way or over here or do this. And it's fine. It's just now I know it's a consequence. But if you don't let them have those, and you're always hovering and you're always doing all this stuff, eventually you're doing that for you because it feels good for you. But that's not really helping your child. And then you go on through life like that, and it's like, well, this poor kid is so entangled and meshed, they can't get the fuck on with their own life. They don't even know what their life is. They're so enmeshed, feeding their parents who are sucking off of them. They never actually got to live. And this can go on generation after generation after generation, because the parents and the child never untangle to know any different. It's hard to untangle that. That's really interesting. They're saying and showing it this way. It's I don't think it was in this recording. Sometimes they all mesh together. Oh, that's the point of this. There was this recording, or a recent one they'd used the imagery of, it's like our mind is wax, like these encounters, this engagement, this entanglement, this enmeshment. It is like wax that is melted into every fiber of our being. So to melt out or untangle or pick out that wax from our body, our being, which is like linen, it's a cross of open fabric. Is very challenging, time-consuming, and difficult. And so, in other words, it's really hard for people to hear all this, understand all this, and untangle all this, and get back to themselves and separate themselves from it is like all others, so that they can be whole sovereign beings thinking on their own. Otherwise, they're always being run or strung by all those around them. But in this example, it's like you don't know who the parent is and who the child is, where it begins, where it ends. And it's never becoming whole and sovereign in oneself to choose and decide to live one's life independently, it's always going to be so entangled, so enmeshed, and so dependent on one another. It's so codependent. It's sick, and it's sad, and it doesn't want to be looked at like that. And I understand that, right? Like coming, I understand that. Yet it's doing everyone a disservice. It really is. And so when you can hear it and see it that way, it's still challenging. It's going to be challenging, yet it ultimately serves everyone. Yet, depending on where you are in that cycle, it can be horrifying to see oneself, what one has allowed to continue, what one has participated in, taking ownership and responsibility for that enmeshment and your piece of it, and no longer allowing it, accepting it, and standing strong in that stance can be quite challenging. And so you decide, do you continue rolling on that way? And that means for you and for your kids and generations to come, or are you able to stand strong and seeing the truth of that and to untangle that and set the example? Tough stuff, but you decide. It's the idea of like generational curse breaking. That's like a good example of that. You could probably hear it that way, where it's like, oh shit, it's easier to just keep rolling with that. Sucks. You're giving away your life, their life, everybody's life. I mean, basically. But yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm falling back asleep, so.
Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.